Hi Stampers, welcome to my Spotlight on Stamping video series. It's a new thing that I'm going to add to my weekly stamping and things to do. If you don't know me, my name is Nancy Novak and you can find me at stampinshout.com. That's where I have my blog and pictures of all the projects and cards that I make. I'm an independent Stampin' Up! Demonstrator and I use Stampin' Up! Products when I make my cards and when I share them with you. And you'll find me on Pinterest and YouTube and Facebook, and you can find all that information on my blog. So, Spotlight on Stamping. I thought I would do something a little bit different because I heard a comment the other day where somebody said that she looks at all the cards on Pinterest and she watches all the YouTube videos, but her cards never turn out the way they're pictured. And so I thought I'd go back to the basics a little bit and start at the beginning with the stamp set and whatever's included with it and just talk about it and how to use those stamps. And today I'm going to talk about Love of Leaves stamp set. I'm going to turn the camera around and get started. If you're watching me live, please say hi, and if you're watching me on replay, go ahead and type in replay. Let me know where you're from. Ask any questions, leave any comments. I appreciate those. And if you're not a subscriber, please subscribe. And if you hit the little notification bell, whenever I do a new video, you'll be notified. So it's just a little notification on your phone just so you don't miss any of my new videos. So again, I'm going to turn the camera around and we'll get started. So Stampin' Up! Right now has the annual catalog and the mini catalog, which I call the holiday catalog. Has a lot of great holiday stamps and papers and you name it, a lot of great supplies. The stamps that we're using today can be found in the annual catalog on page 115. It's right there. And I'm also going to talk about the coordinating die set, which can be found on page 165, and it's called Stitched Leaves, and it's right there at the bottom. So again, I will have this information on my blog, so if you miss anything that I'm saying, just go and visit my blog, www.stampinshout.com, and all that information, or the information I'm sharing with you today, will be there. So, Love of Leaves. I really like this stamp set because you may think it's a fall or an autumn stamp set, but you can use it all year round. You just change the colors. Very, very simple. This is a polymer stamp set, and what that means is they are clear. Here's one right here on a block. They're clear stamps. So what that means is you can see through them, so it makes it very easy to stamp with and to line up wherever you want to stamp. What else did I want to tell you? Oh, this stamp set includes images and sentiments. So as we go along week to week, some stamp sets you'll see are just images only, some are sentiments only, and some have both. So this stamp set does have the images of the leaves and beautiful font with their sentiments. So this is a great friendship card and stamp set, an encouragement stamp set, just a way to say hello, thank you, I thought of you today, a good friendship and people person card set, stamp set. And it comes with 5 different leaves, and these are called distinctive stamps. So what that means is when you stamp with them, it's going to give you a single stamped image, but it's meant to look kind of artistic and uneven, and it shows little bits of detail here and there. So we're going to actually stamp with these, and I'm going to give you a few tips on how to stamp with these and what look you're trying to get and what you should achieve when you're done. And it's easy, so stick around for that. And this stamp set coordinates with Stitched Leaves. And personally, I love any type of die set that has stitching on it. So what's cool about this one is you have, each leaf has an outline that you can cut out, and it has stitching around the edge. When you're done, you'll see that stitching. And it also has, I can't get this off my magnet, it also has a line image which gives texture to your leaves. So I'm going to show you how to do that. And it also has this little textured piece just to add a little element of interest to your cards, should you choose to use that. I said I was going to give you lots of little hints and tips. one of the things is, if you have this on your magnetic sheet, or if you just have it in the folder that it comes in, you want to be careful when you're picking it up, because it's, you know, it gets under your fingernails and it jabs you. And seriously, that happened. I woke up one day and I'm like, why is my finger sore? And it was because I was picking this up with my fingernail and it jabbed me. So there's your first tip. Be careful when you're picking these up. They're not sharp. They're just, you know, they have that little edge to them. So just gotta be careful. So I'm excited to show you this stamp set and the stamping that we're going to do with it, because it's very, very pretty. So again, I said these are polymer stamps, which means they're not rubber, so they don't have a padding on them. So when you stamp, there's no cushion. So I always bring in a magazine or some type of soft surface to stamp on, and this is just an old catalog. And here's the piece of basic white that we're gonna stamp on today, so I can show you how to use this stamp. So let's see, let me just bring in, so again, I was saying this doesn't have to be fall. I want to show you a card real quick that I made for my girlfriend I made this for her birthday. She told me her favorite color was blue and her second favorite color was pink. So I made her, using the Love of Leaves stamp set and the pink cardstock, that was her birthday card. So like I said, it doesn't have, you just change up the colors. And I do have several samples of cards that I'm going to show you throughout this video. And this whole past week, if you go to my Facebook page, you'll see all the cards that I was posting pictures of. And I was into greens because I'm thinking it's autumn, it's the end of summer, and that was just my mindset this week. So let me show you one really quick just to show you. So this I called my Michigan summer card, end of summer card. And I used just jade and I stamped the images, but I also used bumblebee, because every so often in my yard I see a leaf fall into the ground and it's either brown or yellow right now. So again, that's this very summery card, so it doesn't have to be autumn. And but if we're talking autumn, here was another card that I did, and I cut out a leaf using gold foil. So I have many more cards to show you, but I just wanted to bring those out. So let's see, I have garden green here, and I'm bringing in one of the stamps, and I'm going to ink this up and just hold it in place. Okay, so now what I see here is dark green there, and it's not totally even, right? So let's try it again. Because what I'm going to tell you is, with the distinctive stamps, it depends on how dry your ink pad is or how wet your ink pad is. So as you can see, if I move this around, there's more ink in certain areas. So this is an older ink pad, but I'm going to show you a couple of different ink pads so you'll see what I'm talking about. So I always practice first when I'm using I'm not going to go directly on my card when I'm stamping, because I want to see what's going to happen when I stamp with that stamp. Okay, so now that's getting more likable, more what I want. So I just went ahead and moved this stamp around my ink pad, because like I said, this ink pad is older, so there's probably more ink around the edges, not in the center so much. But now let me bring in another pad that I think is pretty juicy. This is Bermuda Bay. I think it's pretty, oh yeah, it's much more juicy. So when you stamp with the polymer stamps, I like to hold it there for a second and let the ink penetrate the paper. And it's supposed to have the little lighter images here and there. I like that one a lot. So the other thing that when you're stamping with polymer is, I told you that you need to, bring in a little cushion. It helps. You don't have to. I mean, I'll show you what it's like just stamping without a cushion, and it works. If I'm doing a lot of stamping, I just bring in that middle magazine just because. Okay, so what I was going to tell you is, you want to make sure that your surface is smooth, even if you don't have a magazine down there or not. But if you have little imperfections on whatever your surface is when you're stamping, those imperfections are going to come through. Like, for example, if let's see if this works. This is probably not thick enough. But if you have, like, say you're stamping on a little scrap piece of paper and you have something underneath there, I think, if this is thick enough, it just gives you an uneven, that's probably not thick enough. But let's say you had a sequin or something like that down here, which I don't have any sequins. It's going to show through, like you're going to get a line in there, you're going to get a dot in there, you're going to get a bump, you're going to get something that you don't want. So you want to make sure you have a nice smooth surface underneath. So this is turning out really well. So again, if you don't like the way your image is showing up, it's either because your stamp pad is possibly too dry, or it could be too juicy, too wet. And let me show you, since we were talking about this garden green and I was saying it's an older pad, doesn't mean I'm not going to keep using it. So I have the little refill ink here. Let me show you how I'm going to do this. So I'm going to add some ink to my ink pad, and I'm just jig-jagging it around. And then you're going to get either like a plastic spoon or an old gift card or a credit card, which I did one of these earlier. So I actually have a credit card that I folded because this was one of those credit cards that somebody somehow got the information. So now I have a new one coming. So I just pulled this out of my little garbage to show you. And I'm just spreading that. I'm pushing down on this. Now, I do have to say that I can tell that this pad is old. It's hard here in the middle. So this is probably one of my original stamp pads, but I can definitely feel that right here in the center. But this is something that you don't generally, you have to worry about that pad getting like that. Like I said, this pad I've been doing Stampin' Up for probably almost 6 years now. So, oh my gosh, if this is 6 years old and it's lasted me that long, I think that's pretty good. So I'm going to clean this stamp off just so I have a nice fresh stamp to start with. Hi everyone who's joining me, welcome. As I said, this is my spotlight on stamping, so I'm talking a little bit more on using your stamps. I'm talking about a specific stamp set this week called Love of Leaves, and how to get that perfect image that you're looking for. So now that I know that the center of that is kind of old, I'm going to stamp on the edges. And another thing I'm going to do with the polymer is sometimes I just let it sit there for a second, longer than you think. And let's see how this one turns out. I can tell this one's going to be really juicy. See, the ink isn't in the stamp pad evenly. So again, what did I do with my credit card? And sometimes it just takes a few stampings to get it going. But I'm not going to spend a lot of time on showing you the ink pad because I want to show you more stamping and how it turns out the right way. But I bet if I keep doing this, eventually the stamp pad is going to, you give it a little bit of time and it's going to penetrate into that pad better. So I think you get the idea. You definitely need to practice with your ink pad first. Probably don't use old ones. In fact, I'm going to bring in one of my newer ones. So this is my chamois. I don't know if you guys know about this. This is a great way to clean your ink pads. And you just wet it, and you can use it over and over and over again. And as you can see, it looks like it has a lot of ink on it. You can rinse it out. Probably won't come clean, but it's always reusable. So it might not look like it's brand new, but it is usable. So you don't have to worry about that. My ink pad, my stamps come clean. All right, so let's bring in a newer stamp pad, Just Jade. This is very pretty. In fact, this is the color I used all week when I was doing all my cards that I posted on my Love of Leaves. Okay. So I'm just going to hold it there. That is how it's supposed to look. So see, nice stamp pad, newer stamp pad. That leaf is perfect. It's got dark shading, light shading, and that is how a distinctive stamp is supposed to look. Okay, so that's stamping with these stamps, and like I said, it coordinates with the stitched leaves. So what you can do with your coordinating dies is you can go ahead and line that up and run it through your embossing machine, which I will do in a second. I just want one of these leaves. I'm not going to take this whole paper. So I can run this through and I can just get the outline. I'm going to show you two. Can show you the difference. And we're going to make a card too, so you'll see a real card in action. So first thing I'm going to show you is that you can just cut the outline. So let me just do this really quick and I'll show you what it looks like. Okay, so this is the first thing you can do. And you can layer these on your cards, you know, glue them down or put them with a dimensional. And I'm going to show you examples of all this on the cards that I already have done. Or you can take and put that outline there and the textured piece like that. Now I'm going to run that through the cutting machine. And what that does is, and I'm not sure you can see, but it gives you the fine lines. So as you can see, maybe you can see it better on the actual die. Those fine lines show up on your stamped image. So having said that, when you stamp, if it's a darker color, those lines don't show up as well. If it's a light color, they show up really well. So I'm going to show you examples of that. In fact, let's look at this one that I just showed you. So on this card, that's Just Jade, and you can't see the line. You can, if you're in person, you can see it. They're there, but they show up even better on the lighter images. And now we're going to do this. We're going to use these dies on cardstock, and you'll see how beautiful, beautiful they are. Actually, I just love them. It's very much. It's just a lot of fun. Okay, so let's get this out of the way. And I'm going to bring in cardstock. Okay, so got Cajun Craze and Bumblebee. And I am going to cut out, I'm going to take my outer die and the inner die, and it has the stitching. I'm going to put the stitching side down, and I'm going to run this through the cutting machine just like that. And let's do another leaf. This one here is cute. It looks like a little heart. Again, you want to put it with the stitching part down, okay? And I'm going to run that through. I'm going to put it up here so I can use this for something else. I'm very, very conservative with all my paper. So let's cut this. This is actually what we're going to use to make our card today too, so stick around for that. Okay, I'm going to run these through at the same time. And then we're going to make a card. And we're going to look at all my samples. Okay, so I ran those through. What's cool about this too, and I'll show you in my samples, is you can also use that image. See, it's got the stitching, on your card. And I have a card sample to show you of that. But this is what we're going to use today. So I have that one. And this one. Oh, it's really, really pretty. Turned out great on this Cajun craze. Can you see that detail? And actually I'm going to do this one over because I'm going to do that when we make our card in a second, and I'll show you why when we're making the card. So both of these cardstock ran through showing that the images that the dies put on your cardstock. All right, so let me show you a few more samples and then we're going to make a little note card. Okay, so I showed you this sample. Now this card, last week when I was posting it, I actually posted a picture of it, but the directions, I gave a free PDF and I included that in my weekly newsletter. So again, that's another thing that I do on Thursdays. I have a weekly newsletter. If you're interested in subscribing, it's a newsletter where I tell you what's going on with Stampin' Up, or sometimes I just tell you what's going on with me, but I always include a free tutorial on a card. So this was the card that was in my last newsletter. And if you go to my blog, you'll see it says sign up for my newsletter here, or email me. You can always email me at stampandshout@gmail.com if you can't find it. So here's a sample that I just showed you using the outline. So what I did was I took a piece of white cardstock and I put this die on the cardstock and I cut it out. And then I layered underneath a pretty piece of designer series paper. But you can see that stitching there, so it really is cool. And there is another YouTube video out. You can see it. I just did it on Tuesday of how I made that card. So you can check that out. Notice the pretty little jewels. I like that. Great thank you card. Let me show you inside. So inside I just put a little layer of designer series paper because you always have that extra piece laying around, so why let it go to waste? Go ahead and put it on the inside of your card. And then there's this card. Now here I'm incorporating a few more of the fall colors, but those are all cut out of the cardstock just like I showed you. And then I just put a piece of designer series paper in the background, and that font is so pretty and delicate on this stamp set. So your friendship is something I know I can count on. And again, I put a strip inside, and you can write in here, or you could put happy birthday or whatever. What else do I have to show you? Oh, I like this one. This one was a little bit more fussy. What I did was I took strips of cardstock and I laid them on another piece of plain white cardstock. I glued them all down. And then I ran it through a textured embossing folder. Then I took that whole piece and I did cutouts. So each one of these had a hole in it, and I did that stitching for the outside, but then I went and I also added the inside texture, and it just shows the white through it. It was simpler than it may sound, but and then I just added the little leaf and I cut out a hello, stamped it and cut out a hello. So that's my other card. Also, since I had all these pieces that I punched out, I didn't want them to go to waste. So I went ahead and made a little tag, a bookmark actually. This is a bookmark. I'm going to give this one to my sister-in-law. And here's a little tag. And I just put smile on that one. So I used those punched out images, again, didn't let them go to waste. This one I called my Fast Friday card, and then I did a fast forward. So if you look back on my Facebook page, you'll see a simpler version of this card, and then I just added these squares down at the bottom and texturized them to make a really quick card. I think this would be great for a guy card, birthday or something. So that was real simple to make. And then again, I showed you this one. This is more traditional Thanksgiving-ish card. So you definitely can obviously use that. But today, I'm going to do a lot of stamping. Not going to take too long, but I'm going to do mostly stamping, and we're going to make a little thank you card. So I'm going to use this one that we cut out, and instead of using this one, I'm going to cut out a plain one. I'm not going to put any texture on it because I'm going to stamp on it, and I'm sure this texture is kind of fine. It doesn't really bump up too much, but I'm going to go with a plain leaf. So I'm going to cut this out really quick. And then we're going to do some stamping. So there. I just have the image, the plain leaf. And I'm going to use the two largest stamps that are in this stamp set. So I'm going to use that one and that one. And let me bring in my magazine, and we're going to stamp on that. And I'm going to use Bumblebee ink and the Cajun Craze. So I'm going to start with my lighter color, which is the Bumblebee and the smaller leaf. And I am just going to stamp here and there. So again, I'm going to let it sit there for a minute. And let's see, I'm just going to stamp here and there. No rhyme or reason, just putting some color on here. So I'm not even doing a full leaf, just little images here and there. So see here, I picked up a piece of paper scrap. You want to make sure that that's not on your stamp, or you're going to get a little line in there. Okay, let's see how that is. I'll do one little edge maybe up here, a little bit of the Bumblebee color up there. Okay, so now I'm going to bring in the Cajun Craze and my other stamp. I want to show you one more thing when we get done with this. And I'm just going to stamp it everywhere else on this card. I'm not worried about overlapping. So this, I talked about how this stamp set can be used for all seasons, but here I'm going back to the more traditional fall colors. So I think I'm going to do a little bit of yellow or Bumblebee right over there. Just a little. Okay. So, wait and see. Wait and see. Let's see. I'm going to bring in these two leaves, and on this one, I am going to take the Cajun Craze and ink it up. Is it going to fit? I'm not sure. If it doesn't, I think I was going to use the longer leaf. Got to do it over. Oh, you know what? I have one here. So here's one I did earlier. I used the longer leaf so the thank you would fit on it. No texture on this one, texture on that one. Oh, glad I had that done ahead of time. What I wanted to show you really quick, because I forgot to show you earlier, was it's really fun to use this. Let me bring in a scrap again. It's really fun to stamp off and stamp. So if you have a darker color, I'm going to try it with the Bumblebee. I think it'll work. And you're doing your card, you could do that. Stamp full strength. Oh, that one. See, I had something under there. Ink this up. Didn't have my magazine. Ink it up. Stamp it. And then stamp again. It's very faint, but it really, really looks pretty. In fact, I think I did that on this card here. I think those are all stamped off images. So there you go, another little tip there. let's put this little thank you card together. So I have one of Stampin' Up's note cards. They come pre-scored. They're about 3.5 by 7.5, so when you get done, they're the perfect size for a note card. And then this is 3.25 by, let me just double check, 3.25 by 4 3/4. So this is going to fit perfectly on here as a mat. This is going to be very pretty. So I'm just going to glue that on the front of my note card. So this is a great value, these note cards. I think they're 20 bucks and you get, I don't know if you get 20 of them. Sorry, I don't remember. It's in the catalog. I'll have to look. But they also come with the envelopes, so that's kind of cool. Very cool. And they are great to mail out. Got a little bit too much glue. There we go. Dabbed it off. So we're going to put that right there. Then I'm going to bring in those 2 pieces and some dimensionals. So we'll put some dimensionals on the back of that one. And we'll lay it down wherever you think you might like it. Let's see. I'm going to lay it right there. I'm going to put a couple dimensionals on this one. So what I'm doing here is I'm looking because I know it's going to overlap, so I don't want a dimensional right on the Cajun Craze leaf because that'll make it uneven. So I just put dimensionals on the upper edge. So when it's done, it'll be the same height as that Cajun Craze leaf. Does that make sense? So I'm kind of angling it. And then, let's see here. Needs a little tiny bow, so I did make a little twine bow ahead of time. And I'm just going to take the glue dot and I'm going to squish that glue dot behind the knot. You could even cut a glue dot in half. And I'm going to shorten these little ties. And there you go. And then inside, I'm going to leave it blank, and I'm just going to write whatever I want in there. So what do you think? So, we make sure we saw all the cards. I love this one. So again, just pick out your favorite colors, and the Love of Leaves stamp set can be used all year round. And again, this one is the stamped card that we added the texture, cardstock with the texture, a simple card, and that is my Love of Leaves. So I'm looking at your comments. If you do have any questions, go ahead. Oh, I can see. Hi, Carol. It's hard to see. For some reason, the letters come through in black. So I will be able to see them all later and answer any questions, and I appreciate your comments. Again, if you're not a subscriber to my YouTube channel, please subscribe. I would appreciate that very, very much. I'm actually really close to getting 5,000 YouTube subscribers, and that's nothing in today's world, but to me it's really exciting. So again, if you can subscribe to my channel, I would appreciate it so much, or ask your friends if they'd be interested in seeing some pretty cards and how to make them. And again, this series is my Spotlight on Stamping, where I take a little bit more time and talk about how to use the stamp. So I hope you guys like that. Let me know, leave me some comments. And I will see you lots of times next week. Facebook, my blog, YouTube, Pinterest. I'm everywhere. So I hope you appreciate it. I love sharing all my cards and projects with you guys, and I